What does spiritual service mean to you? As I play this little bit of music. So just sit back, close your eyes, feel, breathe, notice. Inhale up, hold. Remember the breakthrough breathing. Inhale up, hold. Hold above the crown, feel the expansion. Exhale down, hold. Relax in the body as you're exhaling down. And hold the breath in the base. Just feel the grounding, feel the earth connection, but be present. That's where you touch the witnessing aspect of presence. You're inhaling up, hold, you're exhaling down. This is the fundamental connection to source, to your soul, and the soul flowing through the body-mind. And then one of the key things we're going to work on is the sense of spiraling energy. So as you inhale up, the energy is beginning to spiral up, usually anti-clockwise, counterclockwise. And as you exhale down, clockwise down. I haven't yet figured out if it's different in Australia, being in the South Hemisphere and Africa. But you'll have to figure that out and tell me. So an inhale up, hold one spiral, exhale down, hold the other. And this is animating the torus. This is animating the torus. In yourself first, in yourself. And that may be very subtle in the beginning, and that's entirely okay. Don't effort it, don't struggle. Notice, feel, allow. Okay, rule number one, if there are rules of open hand facilitation, always, but always come from the energy. Always, but always come from the energy. Meaning, coming from your connection to the source inside of you, which means having your attention there, or at least part of it. I can tell you I've been in the most challenging circumstances imaginable facilitating people. Not all people, some people. The most challenging circumstances imaginable. People on the verge of suicide. And I didn't know what to say next. It could have gone either way. I had a woman stood on a cliff with her iPad once. She was about to jump off. I did not know what to say. I didn't even know what question to ask. But I knew this: be in the energy, be in the feeling, be in the torus. And the torus will speak, it will act, it will do something. And every single time it has. Every single time. But if you disconnect from the energy, then you're trying to fathom out, figure what to say. And that's not the answer. The answer is the energy. And so, as we now start to engage, the important thing is to stay in the feeling sense. The feeling sense. Even as we share. Okay, I'm going to share an insight into what the week is all about. What are the various programs we're going to go through, the modules we're going to go through. I'm going to share some of the basics of the admin of how Zoom works, because I know plenty of people are just getting used to how Zoom works. and how I'd like the week to run. Then we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask each of you to share in turn, to say hi to the group, introduce yourself, and just say what it is you would like to get from the week. Because here's what's being offered, but what would you like to get from it? That's the crucial thing. That's the crucial thing. So let's begin with just a few admin things. You may or may not have figured out that Leslie, an Openhand elder, may we say, is running the admin for Zoom during our week. So if you have a technology problem, then email Leslie or message her. You can send a message in the chat room. You can either send a message to everyone, or you can click the blue down button and you can choose who to send it to. So you can either send a message to Leslie that way, or if you're out of the room and you're struggling to get back in, then email Leslie. We'll be aware something is going on because you're not showing up, and we'll look for that. Okay. So Leslie is the main technological point of contact. I obviously can't focus on that because I'm attuned to the work. You can use the chat room to ask questions. So all you need to do is click the chat button at the bottom of the screen, and that'll bring up the chat window. So you can use that to ask questions if you want to, and we'll pick them up at the end of the session. So if you want to use the chat room. You're able to record the session yourself on your own desktop by pressing the record button at the bottom. That should be active for you. If it's not active, then message Leslie and she can enact that. But I will also be recording the sessions, and we'll be posting the videos on Dropbox at the end of the week and giving you links to that so that you can download and watch them again in your own time to recap on the various things that have been shared. If you look in the top right, you will see either speaker view or gallery view. If it says speaker view, then peculiarly you're already on gallery view, meaning you see everybody. But if you'd like to just focus on what the speaker is saying, in this case myself, just click on speaker view and you'll get an enhanced image so you can see more detail. I can see, for example, that the light is fading on my camera, so I'm just going to put that, if I can, somewhere. I'll come back to that. Okay. All right. So you can switch between speaker view and gallery view. In terms of timings, one other thing, you'll see that you have a little red button by next to your name, and that means you are muted. We can mute everyone. I can mute everyone from this end, right? But you have to unmute yourself. We can't do that for you. We mute everyone because if everybody is unmuted, then you get interference sounds going on in the background. Sounds like a cat screaming or something like this. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. We want the cat to be harmonious and happy. So we're gonna mute the sound mostly, but we will ask you at times to share, and then you can unmute yourself. So you basically click your name and you'll get a drop-down box and you'll see unmute at the top, so you can unmute yourself. And I see people are doing that. Okay, which is cool. Okay, I'm just going to mute everyone again in case we get interference. Timings. Okay, I know it's a little tricky because we're in different parts of the world, but if you have a problem figuring out I don't want to give you the time where it is in your part of the world, because if I could get it wrong. yeah, because you're all in different parts of the world. The timings we're quoting are Pacific timings, which is the west coast of Australia. If you type in, for example, 0600 Pacific into your web browser, it will tell you the time where you are. It's that simple. It'll tell you the time. Okay, we started at 5 today because really it's more an intro session. We started at 9 a.m. Pacific because it's more an intro session to the week. But usually we will start at 6 a.m. Pacific. 6 a.m. Pacific. Okay, that's when we'll usually start. And we'll have 3 sessions, usually lasting an hour and a half each, with a half-hour pause between them. Please be punctual. It's not a retreat to dip in and out of. You will get lost. You will get lost if you dip in and out. And there's so much material. There's plenty of material to get through. I want to start punctually for the benefit of everybody in the group. So punctual to me means, and to the group means, before the listed time, this meeting room will be open 15 minutes before that. And you can gain admission to it 15 minutes before. So aim to show up 15 minutes before the appointed time, and you'll be then admitted into the room, and then we'll just be watching that everybody is showing up, and then we'll begin as soon as we can. So please work to be punctual, because it keeps everything moving smoothly for everybody, and that's going to be key for the week. We will have breaks. We're going to have a break shortly. We will have breaks. What I suggest is not to end the meeting or leave the meeting, because then you have to readmit yourself. A good thing to do is simply just to switch off your camera. Just to switch off your camera and then leave. And then you don't have to come back through the admission process. It's straightforward coming back, but if you just switch off your camera, then, when you come back, just switch your camera back on. But if you do go out of the room for whatever reason, then if you click on to enter again, then when Leslie spots you, she'll enter you. That's how we'll essentially play it. Okay, so those are the admin technology issues. Has anybody got any questions about that before I go on? Just put your hand up and I'll get you to unmute. Is that obvious to everyone? Yeah, thumbs up, everyone. Yeah, great, good, okay. All right, let me go through what in essence we're going to cover. Sorry, was that you, Gwen? Were you saying something or were you just stretching your arm? Gwen, can you hear me? No, you're okay. Okay, you were just, you were speaking in some peculiar way through the ether, and these are things I tend to watch for, so, but that's cool. Okay, what are we going to be covering this week? We're effectively going to be covering 4 modules, and you hopefully will have each printed out a booklet that I sent in the week. And if you want to just turn to the first page, I'm just going to quickly go through the essence of what we're going to be covering. And these will play more or less each full day from tomorrow. So module 1 is the approach, is the energy workers approach. And I've already spoken about the importance, absolutely, utterly priceless, of coming from the energy and what that means, and we'll be working on that. We'll be looking at how to open up multidimensionally through multidimensional meditation, because this is how your consciousness starts to activate the field for the people you're working with. Whether you can actually pinpoint that or not, it's going to dance as you start to open up multidimensionally. You know, you're going to be faced with sessions where you're going to start by asking a person, so tell me what's going on for you. And you're going to be bombarded with stuff. Some people will be like that. They'll tell you their whole history. They'll tell you, their grandparents' history, their partner's history, their kids' history. And all of it's story. It's all story. But it's very compelling, it can be, and can pull you in. The key is to be in this. That's where the solutions come from. When someone starts speaking, I'm not really listening to what they're saying, not that much. I'm not really listening. I tell you what I'm doing. I'm watching for these things, these spiking words, because the soul will reveal what those spiking words are. Like listen, or worthlessness, or respect, or ad infinitum. These are spiking words. And if you sit back and feel, they'll animate the field. And what I have is right behind me is a tree, an imaginative tree. When the spiking word strikes, I notice what it is. And I take that word and I hang it on the tree in my mind. And it's there. I'm waiting now for an opportunity to cut through the dialogue and drop the word in. Because as soon as you do, it stops being an intellectual pontification and dance and becomes an energetic transformation, an alchemical transformation. You drop that word and you watch what happens in the energy field. It's pure catalysis. Pure catalysis. I'm not listening to what people are saying. I'm listening for the spiking words. And they get communicated through the ether because the soul wants to reveal itself. What is going on in the universe? What have we said right since the beginning? I'm going to keep coming back to this diagram, even if it bores the pants off people, because it's so important. Because what is the universe doing if not revealing itself and expressing itself? And so it does. And so it does. It never stops. It's constant. And through a person, it speaks through the soul. And the soul speaks often through the words they're saying, but also what they do with their hands in their face. And so you say something and suddenly they're doing this with their ear, or they're touching their nose. Or they'll say something and they'll grimace. They'll say something which they think is true, but they'll grimace, saying that it's not true. They don't really believe what they're saying. Their body they're communicating one thing and their field is communicating another. And you see it in their field. You see it in all the micro expressions. When people touch something, or their ear or whatever, scratching their head, it's in all the micro expressions. This is what we're looking for, because these are the keys. These are the keys that unlock all the doorways. All of these things. These are the keys. That's what we're looking for. Now you may think, Christ, how am I going to remember all of that? It comes through practice. It comes by having the right orientation for it. And so a word plays, just hang it on the tree. Another word, hang it on the tree. Okay, now wait for a moment to come in. Tell me about worthlessness. Boom, suddenly, person goes quiet. Ooh, shit. Now you can feel the energy moving. Now you can feel the field moving. When was it that you originally felt being worthless? Whoa, shit, with my father. Okay, tell me about what it was like when you were with your father when you were 3, because 3 just popped out of the field. Because it does. When you're open, the numbers pop out. The intuitions pop out. Why am I seeing you dressed as a Catholic priest? Whoa, boom. I said that to one person once. You should have seen their field move. I think the guy wanted to kill me. But it was his reaction, right? It was his reaction. And this is the karma, right? Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Pick the word that's come out of the ether, that they're giving to you, that the soul is giving to you. So this is why we're going to work a lot on being in the energy, being in the multidimensionality, and how can we intuit, pick up what is coming through the field. And you're all capable, more than capable of doing that, else you wouldn't be here. You're more than capable of doing that. But you might be sitting there thinking, shit, I understand if you do. I understand. But don't worry, it's okay. You'll get it together. It will make sense. It just needs practice. It just needs how to apply it and practice. So we have the first module is coming from the energy field. And one other thing is crucial to this, absolutely crucial. As I said, the torus. So we will practice with a partner how you enfold your partner in your torus. How do you enfold your partner in your torus? Because if you do that, if you embrace them in your torus, you start agitating and animating these things. You start resonating the soul. And that's what we want to get to. We want to animate the soul. We want to activate the blockages, the karmic blockages, because that's what's going to liberate the torus in them. So we're going to work on how do you do that? How do you apply that? So that is module 1, and we'll cover that tomorrow. Okay, module 2, coaching technique. Coaching technique. Once we've got this all moving, once the field is moving, we need to drill down to these touch points, to these triggers. We need to drill down, and we need a process to do that. And the process we're going to work with is called the seer approach. The seer approach is using open-ended questions to get them to reveal to you what the triggers are. Tell me about worthlessness. Well, tell me about your situation. Oh, yeah, I felt like this, I felt like that. Tell me about worthlessness. What does that feel like? Woo, yeah, feels like this. Or they'll say to you, I can't feel anything. Tell me about not feeling anything. You keep giving it back. You get them to take ownership. A lot of people come to you, they want you to fix their problems. We're not here to fix their problems. We're here to help them fix their problems. Tell me about what that feels like. Shit, I feel angry, I feel aggressive. Where do you feel that? Oh, I feel it in, I can't feel it. But you'll feel it maybe because you're embracing them in the torus. Tell me what you're feeling in your abdomen. Tell me what you're feeling in your solar plexus now. And you start to pick it up and you ask them. Then they go, oh yeah, it feels tight. Okay, so I want you to put your attention there. And I want you to work with that. How does it want to express? So we're using a seer approach, which is very straightforward, but needs practice to apply. And you're using open-ended questions and your intuition to drill down into these places. And if you do drill down to these places, it stops being some intellectual solution chit-chat thing, becomes deeply alchemical. And that's what we're really working towards. So module 2, the second day, is all about developing the process of what is seer, how to apply it, and then practicing with one another. And as I said to dear old Matthew, I remember last year about this time, and you looking at me, Matthew, saying, looking very confused after I taught this, I'd gone through the seer process, right? And you were looking very confused. I said, it's really simple. Remember the 4 S's. Do you remember the 4 S's? Ask them about their shit. Take them into their shit. Get them to process their shit. Bring them out of their shit, right? 4 steps. Remember that? It is really straightforward, but we're going to put some technique with that. Some technique with that. What were you saying, Matthew? Go on, unmute yourself for a moment. Matthew, unmute yourself. You're muted. You need to unmute yourself. Can you do that? Don't worry. Okay, no worries. Okay, module 3, the third day, the coaching toolkit. Okay. The questioning technique helps them to start navigating with the soul. We need to help them to see the landscape they're navigating within. What is the purpose of the soul? What is the soul trying to achieve? You know, so some people will come along and say, you know, I've just been kicked out of my apartment. My relationship's ended. I've lost all my money. I'm living on the street. And the first question would be, so why did you create it? They won't want to hear that. They won't want to hear that, I can tell you. But that's the only place to go. That's the only place to go. Because what is this about? Self-realization. Why did you create it? That's where the answer comes from. That's where the answer comes from. So they need to we need to help them to understand, how is the soul navigating? What is it trying to do? What is it trying to reveal? So we need to help them to understand the landscape. What is the purpose of the soul? What is the purpose of the journey? What are the various stages of the journey it's going to go through? Many people, I believe, will have seen, come to this work, the 5 Gateways movie. Well, that shows the landscape through 5 shifts of consciousness as well. So where is the soul taking us? We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. We'll get into how you diagnose where somebody is at within that journey, because it can help you see, what are they really dealing with? What are they really dealing with? So it gives you, it prepares you with more information to play back these key words, which are going to animate this. And a big one, we're going to look at this in the context of the Ascension. What is the Ascension? That you'll have different views on that. But I would say, and that's important, that whatever view you have is true for you, providing you're open enough to let it keep changing, evolving. But what I would put to you within this work is that understanding the Ascension helps clarify exactly why people are experiencing what they're experiencing. Why is humanity right now? How can I confidently sit here and say it's all about sovereignty? Because that's a part of the Ascension process. And that's what's being reflected in a myriad of different ways, from common law to crop circles. It's being reflected from, you know, what happens with police brutality that happened some weeks back and what's happened since then. To me, this is all about the Ascension. So having an understanding of that, the landscape of that, is going to be very, very important and helpful to you in your practice. Module 4, spiritual ecosystem. A spiritual ecosystem. What on earth is this all about? Okay, what do I mean by this? You may have the most brilliant capability, gifts of service. We need to understand, how do we bring that service to the world? How can we do that most effectively and most importantly, authentically? If you think about the way mainstream business is run, it's about creating some kind of product and then trying to create a market for the product and then using marketing techniques to sell into that marketplace. It's all about market share. And you may say, well, that's for corporations, but that's in effect what so many people are trying to do in business, even in the spiritual mainstream. They're trying to create some kind of product. They're trying to then create a market for the product, and then they're trying to sell into the market. Huge, big waste of time. Huge, big waste of time, a waste of money, screws up your consciousness, has you chasing your tail, complete waste of money, effort, time, and not only that, but is completely destroying the planet in the process. Big zero. Big zero. You have a vibration. You have a natural vibration. Find that vibration and begin to express it within your locality. Find that vibration and begin to express it within your locality, whatever locality that is. It could be local to you where you live. It could be local in a group that you run on Facebook or are a part of on Facebook. Providing you're being authentic, providing you're expressing your key vibe, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to be like a magnet. If you are authentic, real, and expressing your vibration, you will be like a magnet. You will draw people to you. You will draw people to you. They'll just appear. And then it's knowing, understanding, well, what do I actually do with that? Is there something I can do to harness that, to amplify that? And there is. There's a straightforward process to create what I call a spiritual ecosystem. A spiritual ecosystem. It's building a community of common interest around your beingness. Building a community of common interest around your beingness. And working to serve that community. Working to serve that community. Now, interestingly, this is a process that I was given to crystallize, to condense, that actually goes back way through human history. It's called the bazaar mentality. It's based on the ancient bazaar, where people used to meet up, connect, exchange, trade. And it's the principle the early internet adopters used to great effect. And interestingly, when I incarnated, I took on a career place, running a company that was all about creating ecosystems around small, conscious business ventures. And what we did was we took the person's gift, their understanding, their knowledge, what they had to bring to the world, and we helped them create a spirit. Well, it wasn't a spiritual ecosystem strictly at that point, but an ecosystem. That's what we did. And so I've taken that knowledge and brought it into this arena and recognized that the early internet adopters all used that approach. I'm going to mention some names which are going to make your toes curl for a moment. Google, YouTube, Facebook, some of the early ones, Yahoo, Netscape, all of them adopted the ecosystem approach. But since then have used that a kind of means of manipulation as well. Well, of course, we're not going to do that. But the spiritual ecosystem approach is there to build a community of common interest around your service and offering. And that's what we're going to work on probably on Friday. And we're going to work in pairs. We're going to do a lot of work in pairs. And on that particular day, we'll work in pairs to see how you can relate that to your own service. What might you do to apply that to your own service? So we're going to do that on Friday. And then Saturday, we're going to conclude by breaking down into pairs and doing a complete facilitation session with a partner. That's what we're going to do this week. That's the scope, the outline of what we're going to do. We're going to cover a lot of ground in that time. And at the end of it, you're going to come out with some really valuable techniques that then I will recommend you go out into the world and apply. And just a word about that, just to conclude with. This is the foundation course. It provides the foundationary material to become, should you choose to, should you wish to, a facilitator. Now, even if you do or do not go on to be a facilitator, you'll be able to apply this knowledge and awareness in your life, mediating the world, connecting with people, and helping move energy through your life and through the field around you. You'll be able to do that for sure. You'll have an increased understanding of how to do that. You may decide that you want to become a facilitator, but you don't necessarily want to be an open hand facilitator. Entirely okay. Of course, that's entirely and utterly up to you, what you wish to do with what you then know. But you may think, wow, I would love to go on and do the Open Hand Facilitator program. I'd like to join the program and become accredited and listed on the website as an accredited facilitator. And there are very clear steps that we've established for doing that, which will involve writing up case studies and sending them to me, and I'll work through them with you. It'll mean being a support facilitator on a workshop, and it will mean one other session of accreditation, which would probably be a summer school, another one of these, or a conference. We're holding conferences annually now as well. So there'll be an accreditation process, which I'll spell out after the course. And if you wish to continue, I would love to have you on board. If it feels right for you, that's the key. And there's no time limit on this. You could complete the program in a year. I'd say about a year, but there's no time limit on it if you want to take your time. And also what I would say as well is just about every Open Hand facilitator has another related healing modality that they encompass with it. And that's very definitely encouraged in this approach. And I'll share why when we get to it. So what you find is people have a modality, whether it be some form of yoga, crystal therapy, aromatherapy, massage, naturopathy, whatever it is. Most people have some kind of complementary modality which is encompassed within their facilitation. And I'll explain and share what types there are and how you might apply them, how you might combine them. So this is what we're going to get into. This is the outline program. We're going to take a break. And when we get back, I'm going to ask you to share a little bit, just to introduce yourself and really share a little bit about what you would like to get from this week. Before we take the break, does anyone have any immediate questions? Just put your hand up if you do. No? Okay. It is, I'm trying to figure out the time now. It is